One of the first props that I made for this film was a sword. I used a wooden sword that I had lying around, and I painted it to look more realistic. I then added rust on the blade using some thin layers of paint, and finished it with a black electrical tape grip on the handle. I also made a more complex weapon. For this one I started with a long pole, which I cut into 2 pieces. I attached a ball to the end of one piece, and for the other piece I made a blade with the help of the woodworking teacher at my school. I filled in the gap between the ball and the end of the pole with some putty, and I painted the ball and the blade silver and the handles black. I also wrapped some electrical tape around the handles for a grip. One of the more complicated things that I made was a latex prosthetic nose. For this one I started by sculpting it out of non-hardening clay. Okay, I'm just doing a test run here to make sure everything works out the way it's supposed to. I've never really used clay like this before, so we're gonna have to see how that goes. I'm just going to sculpt a little horn on my mannequin head here. Okay, I'm opening up my liquid latex. Okay, I've opened up the liquid latex. It does not smell nice. Now I'm just going to put a little latex in a cup. And I'm going to paint some layers of it onto this horn with a little sponge brush. This method did not work. I realized the day before I had to shoot with the nose that using a brush ruined the texture and did not apply a thick enough layer of latex. Okay, I applied like 6 to 10 coats of the liquid latex. I let it dry. Now I'm going to try to get it off. I have some flour to powder it so it doesn't stick to things. So I rinsed it off. It is a bit too thin, but it's a good start. And I'm going to apply some castor sealer and let it sit overnight. This will just help makeup go on it better. So, on a very tight schedule, I attempted to do it the more professional way. I made a plaster cast of the nose using some plaster of Paris. I just made a mold around my sculpture and filled it with plaster. Then when the plaster was dry, I removed all the clay, and I poured liquid latex into the mold to sort of coat the outside. And this did work better, but what I realized was that the shape of my nose was actually kind of a difficult one to work with. Because it was so long, it was hard for it to support its own weight. And I actually ended up having to reinforce it with some tiny dowels on the inside. The costume that the nose was part of also involved a fake beard. To make this, I got some wig wefts. I braided the hair in little tiny braids and then dipped them in boiling water followed by ice water. This put some very small waves in the hair, which made it easier to apply to the face and also gave it a texture more like actual facial hair. I then cut it into small sections and used spirit gum to place it on my actor's face. I started with the darkest color of hair at the jawline to create a shadow, and then I made it progressively lighter as I worked upwards. Once the beard had been applied, I styled it, first trimming it, and then using some water to release the waves a little bit. After that, I used some hairspray to set the beard in place, and then I floated it off of the actor's face using alcohol. The hairspray and spirit gum held the beard together as one piece. I then applied that piece again using spirit gum to the actor's face on the day of shooting.